Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Curious Kingdom. Today we're recapping about the drama film Above the Shadows. The film starts by introducing to us a young girl, Holly, telling us that she is invisible and cannot be seen, but she is not a ghost. We are introduced to her childhood. She talks about her older sister and younger brother who got all the attention. She, being the middle child, was ignored. She further calls herself ordinary. Her mother was her only bond and she was very close to her. Unfortunately, her mom fell sick. Their whole family was in denial that the treatments were working fine and she will get over her illness. However, her mother died one day and her life changed. Holly began to fade away. The concept is difficult to grasp. It all began at home when Holly's family only paid attention to her when she caught their eye. During dinner, while Holly watches her father checking on her siblings, she realizes he completely forgets about her. She confronts him, expressing her disappointment in his lack of interest in her. Her father appears surprised by her statement. This pattern slowly extends to other areas of Holly's life. At school, when the teacher asks if anyone has questions, Holly raises her hand, but nobody notices or hears her. By the end of the summer, she becomes completely invisible and forgotten by people. This becomes evident on the first day of school when she oversleeps, and nobody bothers to wake her up. When Holly confronts her family about this, they don't acknowledge her or even look in her direction. She grabs her father's hand, and he screams in fright, unaware of her presence. Confused by the situation, Holly joins her family for a photo, but when she sees the picture, she realizes she's not in it. Reluctantly, she accepts the fact that she has vanished from everyone's sight and memory. As time goes by, she adapts to her invisible life, considering it somewhat normal as she lives in a house rented to a corporation. She arranges grocery deliveries and manages to keep her job. Most of her work involves taking compromising photos of celebrities at night and selling them to tabloids. Despite her invisibility, Holly continues to visit her family. Her brother resides in the basement, working on an experimental movie, while her sister is getting married. Their father has pursued a new career in commercial real estate. The Friday night dinner tradition still remains, and Holly always attends, although she doesn't actively participate. Being invisible has its advantages, such as unrestricted movement without worrying about rules, manners, or appearance. One evening, while following a couple, Holly catches the attention of Shane, a former MMA fighter. He questions her motives, leading to her getting kicked out of the club. Surprised that Shane can see and interact with her, she tries to stop him from leaving, but a colleague intervenes. Holly believes that others can now hear her and attempts to approach several people, but she is consistently ignored. The next day, she visits her mother's grave and shares the news that someone can see her, but she acknowledges that she remains invisible to everyone else. Holly recalls a specific memory of her mother assuring her that she would be there for her whenever she needed her. When Holly returns home, she notices a tabloid newspaper featuring Shane kissing a woman, revealing his infidelity. This discovery leads her to investigate Shane's background, uncovering that he is a former world champion in MMA who experienced a rise to fame after winning several fights and dating a famous celebrity named Juliana. However, his career and reputation took a nosedive due to cheating scandals and a defeat by his rival. Holly returns to the club, hoping to find Shane there. She shows him the newspaper, which angers him, but she confesses to taking the photo. Curious about her intentions, Shane asks why she is revealing this information, considering the damage it caused his life. Careful not to disclose her invisibility, Holly explains that she wants to make amends. Surprisingly, he agrees, stating that she must fix everything that went wrong to compensate for the trouble she caused. Holly agrees to try and convinces Shane to let her join him and his manager. She proposes that if, after 5 minutes, he decides she can't help him, she will leave him alone. Reluctantly, he allows her presence. During their meeting at a bar, Shane realizes his manager cannot see or hear Holly. She assists him during the meeting by informing him of his manager's plans. When he asks about the cost, the manager deceives him, saying it's only $800 per performance, when it used to be $1,500. Shane confronts Holly and demands an explanation. She admits that she is invisible. Shane doesn't understand because he can see her, but Holly proves her invisibility by standing in front of a taxi, claiming that it will stop if the driver sees her. Shane hesitates, but ultimately pushes her to safety as the driver honks and curses. He gestures at Holly, but the driver remains unaware of her presence. Finally, Shane realizes that Holly is truly invisible to everyone except him. Exhausted and confused, he asks her to come to his house the next day while still invisible. Holly tells him that she hasn't always been invisible. Things were different once. She believes that if she fixes what she broke for him, things will go back to normal for both of them. Shane, struggling with his situation, invites Holly to watch him in an underground battle, which he wins. His manager pays him $300 for the fight, arousing Holly's suspicion. Shane claims he does it because he loves the sport, but Holly suggests he find better opponents and venues to earn more money. However, Shane doubts that anyone he knows would want to challenge him. Holly asks for the list and decides on a rival who was previously involved in a steroid scandal. She breaks into his house and takes a photo of the steroids he's taking. Inspired, she goes to Shane's place to share the good news. He receives a call from his manager, who informs him that he will be fighting the rival Holly targeted. Shane asks how she did it, but she refuses to say and advises him to focus on training. While preparing for the fight, Holly takes pictures of Shane to enhance his image. During a conversation about family, Shane notices a notification on Holly's phone about her brother's birthday and asks about her family. Holly describes her sister, and Shane suggests that she might be pregnant. Holly stops by her sister's house to borrow clothes, and then goes to Shane's apartment to watch him fight his rival. Despite a 5-year hiatus, Shane unexpectedly wins, and his manager cheers him on while mentioning that his fee for the fight is not as big as they had hoped. Shane returns home and Holly commends him, but when she sees his injuries up close, she becomes concerned. He invites her to the roof to look at the full moon that night. They have a small argument when Shane questions if she is real, causing Holly to take offense. She argues that just because others can't see her doesn't mean she doesn't exist. Shane apologizes and admits that he wants her to be real. Holly challenges him to prove it, and as he leans in to kiss her, a journalist takes a picture. Shane tries to chase after the journalist, but he escapes. Holly reassures Shane not to worry about the photo as she won't be visible in it. They continue talking and grow closer that night. The next morning, Holly discovers a tabloid with Shane and a girl's shadow on the cover, labeling her as the Shadow Girl. Surprisingly, she finds herself in the photo again. Shane meets his next opponent during a press conference, and the opponent's arrogance annoys him. It is revealed that Shane has finally fired his manager. Someone from the audience asks about the Shadow Girl, leading the press to assume it's Juliana, his ex-girlfriend, and that they are back together. Shane chooses not to comment. Holly sneaks into her opponent's limousine and blackmails him with compromising photos of him with an underage girl. She demands that he loses the fight against Shane. After finishing her work, Holly stops by the club and overhears Juliana calling Shane. Shane admits he wasn't expecting to hear from her, and Holly realizes that Shane is winning again, making Juliana interested in him. Holly contacts her tabloid contact to offer an exclusive on Shane, but the man refuses. She changes her approach and lies about a rematch with Shane's rival to the tabloid, using it as leverage to convince them to publish the news. Holly breaks into her rival's apartment but doesn't find anything useful. She then goes to her sister's house to return the borrowed clothes and finds her sister crying in the bathroom. Her sister's pregnancy test came positive, and was having mixed feelings about that. Holly receives a message about Juliana's date at the lounge to gather insider information. She goes there and discovers that Juliana's date is Shane. Shane accuses Holly of spying on him, but she explains that she came for Juliana, not him. Holly confronts him about what he did with Juliana, and he admits he was curious and wanted to see what would happen. He also mentions that even though he thinks Holly is great, she doesn't exist in the real world. Defending himself, Shane claims that she was also using him and helping him to help herself. Holly admits that maybe she can't provide anything more, and reveals that she couldn't find anything on Shane's rival, making her unable to guarantee his victory in the fight. Shane realizes that Holly had been manipulating his fights. He asks her to leave him alone. Holly's life returns to its usual routine as she continues selling compromising photos of celebrity. She learns from the news that Juliana and Shane are dating again, becoming a couple once more. One evening, there's a knock on Holly's door, and it's Shane. He confesses that his life fell apart not just because of the photo she took. It wasn't the only reason he broke up with Juliana or lost his temper during the fight. He admits that somewhere along the way, he started believing the world owed him something, which led him to become lazy and cheat. He asks how he can make it up to her, and Holly kisses him. However, he pulls away and tells her that he worries about her and doesn't want to be that guy anymore. As advice, he suggests that Holly needs to come to terms with what happened. Offended, Holly believes Shane is blaming her for being invisible, and tells him to leave. Before he goes, Shane leaves a flyer for a rematch with his rival, expressing his hope that she attends the show. Everything seems to have gotten worse. She hurries to the gym to find comfort from Shane. She taps on the window, but when he looks up, he doesn't notice her. She waves her arms to get his attention, but he still doesn't respond. It breaks her heart to see Juliana giving him a towel. Juliana tells Shane that she's going to the set. He asks if Juliana only came to him because he won the fight, and Juliana admits it. Worried that she might disappear completely, Holly reflects on what went wrong in her family. She helps her sister reveal her pregnancy to her husband by accidentally knocking over a trash can and finding a discarded pregnancy test. She watches her brother's experimental movie and praises it. She assists him in meeting a girl by accidentally tripping over her in front of their house. Holly then focuses on their father and wonders why he never dated as she searches through his room. It finally dawns on her that he is still in love with their mother. The loss of their mom didn't just affect her, but the whole family. She realizes that she had been ignoring the grief her family was going through. She finds a flyer for a rematch between Shane and his opponent and decides it's time for a change. She makes it to the fight on time and overcomes her fear of the crowd. Holly approaches the cage and cheers for Shane, even though he can't see or hear her. Shane gets knocked down, and Holly rushes into the cage. Worried, she stays with him until the round ends and he recovers in his corner. She kneels in front of him and whispers encouraging words. When he opens his eyes, he finally sees Holly again. Surprisingly, other people can now see her. A guard approaches Holly to escort her outside. She realizes too late that others can see her now. The fight ends with Shane's victory, but all he can think about is Holly. He ends his relationship with Juliana. Shane catches up with Holly, who has been detained by hotel security. He insists that she is with him. They reunite and share a kiss. The movie concludes with Holly walking in to see her father. He looks at her and finally remembers who she is, and they share a heartfelt hug. That's all for today, folks. Like, share, and subscribe for more such content. Curious Knight signing off. Stay safe, stay curious.